celebrating the release of his new book, Always Remember: The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse, and the Storm. Charlie's books have helped people around the world. I personally discovered his work in 2020 during the pandemic and was deeply moved and comforted by the poetic profundity of both his words and drawings. And I'm a little bit nervous because this book has meant so much to me. Charlie's work reminds us that gentleness is not weakness, that hope can survive in the smallest gestures, that success is to love, and if at first you don't succeed, have some cake, and remember that love, steady and imperfect, is what carries us through. So we know we got started a little bit late, and we're gonna need one more minute, but that's okay because I still have a bio to read. And this evening may or may not include a drawing tutorial. We have yet to see. Charlie began his career as a cartoonist before illustrating for Oxford University Press. His work has appeared in galleries, classrooms, hospitals, and homes around the world. His beloved book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, became a global phenomenon, the longest-running nonfiction #1 in the Sunday Times, a New York Times bestseller, and the first ever to win both the Waterstones and Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year awards. In 2023, he co-wrote and directed the animated adaptation, which went on to win the BAFTA Award for Best British Film, the Academy Award for Best Animated Short, and 5 Annie Awards. Mackesy will be joined in conversation with Nora Krug, an editor and writer in Book World, who has worked at the Washington Post since 2007. Her articles and columns have appeared in Health, Book World, Local Living, and Parenting. And the mic just went out. But in addition, she became a co-editor of the weekly Health and Science section. Before joining the Post, she served as an editor at the New York Times and Architectural Digest. And you know what the mole says. Sometimes I want to say I love you all, but I find it difficult. So I say something like, I'm glad we are all here. Well, I'm glad we are all here together. So please join me in welcoming Charlie Mackesy and Nora Krug. In 1 minute.
Okay. We're going to be talking, not drawing. So, but we have a lot of drawings to look at. So, I was going to start by saying, as I reminded you, we met in 2019. I discovered your book, and I thought this book is going to be really popular. And I was, I'm not always right, but I was. And we did an interview by email. I published a story in 2020, January, and then the world kind of changed significantly, and your book became even more important, valuable. And here we are now 6 years later, and the world is in a state of, you can choose your adjective.
Any offerings? Fill them up.
Is this your marketing plan? No, seriously, I want to know, so how does it feel, again, to be having a book that offers so much salve for people in difficult times? Started big.
Yeah, that's a big question. It's nice to be here, that's for sure. I should really be in bed because my time is, I only got here last night and I'm very sleepy. So if I say wrong things or backward things, then you have to have an understanding of that. I'm all really asleep. So for me, this morning when I thought I couldn't sleep at 4 a.m. I went to the gym, which is a very rare thing for me to do. But there was a gym in the hotel, and coming out of the gym, it said stairs. So I thought I'd take the stairs rather than the lift because I don't like lifts. And I realized that there was an emergency staircase. And so when I got to the top, it was locked. So I came down again, and it was like a concrete kind of tunnel. And when I got back to the door that I'd come through, it was locked. So I sat. Okay, so I'm in Washington. I'm in a concrete tunnel, and it's locked. This is quite difficult. And then I started thinking, You know, when you're forced into a situation that you feel uncomfortable with, you start thinking about, the world. So I'm answering your question in a very long-winded way, which was, I started to panic because I thought, what happens if I don't get out of here? And these walls are 4 feet thick, Nora, and I was banging on the door, and it was 4 a.m, and no one could hear. And so I started thinking, am I going to be here all day? And I did think about the panic we feel, and I thought, is this? I hear from a lot of people on Instagram. I get, my inbox is 11,000 emails that I haven't answered, and if you looked at them, you go, oh wow, this person is struggling. Oh my gosh, this person is, this person is going through this. Da, da, da. And I'm no more equipped than anybody else to answer these things. But in that, sitting on that stone cold staircase with no way out, I did think this is what a lot of people are telling me in their emails. It really is. It's a tough time.
It is, and I actually was going to ask you about your emails and the messages you get and how you deal with that, because I would imagine seeing all that coming at you must be difficult.
It is. It's a huge privilege. Like, if you get people telling you the truth. I had a brilliant therapist once who's an ex-Franciscan monk, and he once said to me, if someone tells you their truth, they're giving you gold, so respect it. And it was years ago, and I remember thinking, I just said, can you say that again? And he said, yeah, if someone is really honest with you, however dark or strange it is, receive it like they're giving you a piece of gold. And so for me, when I see these emails, I think, yeah, here's someone daring to tell me something profound. It's difficult, but it's gold. And sometimes it's, I won't go into the detail, I suppose, but, they're extreme in some cases. And I just feel privileged, but sometimes I feel that it is hard to listen and, on a daily basis, imbibe that kind of thing, but a huge privilege at the same time. So it's wonderful that people feel the courage to do so, but sometimes it's difficult.
I was going to take a step back and suggest that you use your hotel experience for your next book, because it's kind of good.
Well, actually, the day before was no better, because I was on the way to the airport and I realized that I'd forgotten my passport and missed the flight. So I mean, that, getting here, whether I'm stuck in a staircase or don't have a passport, it's all, the difficulties of life, and I don't seem to be able to avoid them, like no one does.
And yet you've been able to turn them into gold. So, yeah. I was going to say, I've listened to a few interviews, and the question people keep saying is like, it's been 6 years. Like, as if 6 years is a long time to write a book, which I don't think it is, and certainly not one at this level of illustration and everything. So, I mean, what was the process like for you? Did it feel like a long time to you, or?
It has felt like I don't know how you feel about since 2019. It does feel like a long road. We've been through so many things. I never felt, in terms of the book, any pressure to make another one. I didn't think, Penguin, my publisher, certainly didn't say make another one. But I felt that if there was one, I would wait for it and not push it. I think I'm a real waiter. Like, I drive people crazy. I just wait for things. I don't push things ever. And I do not believe in making something to sell it. I never believed in that. I think if you've got something, wait for it to feel like it's saying something true, and then let it go. And I had an amazing experience today, actually. You got the oldest house in DC. It's a beautiful old house. The one with a bit of garden. Anyway, maybe you don't know. But we were having tea there, and my friends who I work with are saying, come on, we need to go home, back to the hotel and sleep now. And I had this deep sense in me that I should just stick around. But I couldn't give an answer why. Do you ever have that? You just feel, don't you? It's going to stick around. But, come back and get some tea. I just want to stick around. And then I saw this. I just left the book up, because I leave books around. So I left the book and saying, if you find this book. And I saw this lady, and I thought, you know what? She needs this book. And she was quite tired looking, probably maybe 80 or so. And so I said, would you like a book? And she said, what sort of book? Quite a good question. I said, I'll get it for you and you can choose whether you have it or not. And then I gave it to her and sat next to her, and she just said, oh, I have the first one of this. And then she started crying. And then she said, my mum just died, she was 96. And so we hugged. And then she said, oh, my daughter is, can I get my daughter? And she was in the shop, who was also doing a lot of work with the book on her own life and stuff. And then these kids arrived of her grandchildren. So we had this whole thing going on for like an hour in this, and talked about life and the journey and the complexities of it and the pain and how to process it and dare to be vulnerable. And it was a huge thing. And why am I telling you this? Because waiting. I think for me, I wait. And I think at some point in the journey of this, always remember, I felt, when you get a certain number of piles of drawings, and hundreds of them, I felt, okay, maybe there's a semblance of a narrative, and maybe I'll start putting it together, and here we are with it. But it does feel like a long journey. But the people who have inspired me most are people like you, or I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, or people who I bump into in the street. But over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I have these meetings, random meetings with people who come up to me. And there was, again, a very elderly man who came up to me 3 years ago. And he just came straight up to me, tiny, like a bird. And he said, are you that mole guy? And I said, I think so. And he gripped my arm really tight, almost painfully, my forearm, and stared at me. And his eyes filled, and he just said, well, make another. And then this lady who works with a riding school near me, she works with kids who have come from really tough backgrounds, and she said to me, again, 4 years ago, that your first book gave my boys permission to be kind and to dare to tell the truth of how they really feel. And they're waiting for another. So get on with it. And I suppose it's that, rather than a publisher going, make another book, that makes me... Pressure. Yeah, but I suppose I'm more responsive to real people saying, not that publishers are not real, but their desire for something that they need, and I never would want to make something just to contrive it for the sake of it, And that's the other thing about this stuff, is that I'm just as broken as everybody. I'm just as, look at the last 24 hours. And stumbling around, fumbling around, getting lost, and people say to me, where does this wisdom come from? And I say, well, I just think it's from conversations, but I'm certainly not on the other side of the river telling you how to cross. I think I'm on your side of the river, wondering how we're all going to do it together. And I think, so my engagement with these books and the one I've just done it's insane to think that my name is on the cover, because it should be so graffitied by the names of so many other people who've said, this is how we feel, who've engaged with me, whether it's randomly in the street or by email or by direct messages on Instagram. This is a journey I've made with many people. And I've loved that journey. And making these books has been a journey, a collective journey of so much emotion and pain and fear and hope and questions. And I suppose at some point you go, okay, well, let's try and print it. It's a very strange answer to a good question.
No, it's not where I was expecting it, but that's good.
Sorry, Nora.
No. I mean, it sounds like you're sort of a public therapist. Does that happen a lot, that people come up to you and...
I don't think I would never think I was a therapist, but I think people generally want to be heard or seen. Mm-hmm. It's all they want. Like when people write to me and they go, there's the number of people, I probably had, I don't know, a few 100,000 emails, and 10% of them probably someone saying, I'm really struggling, I don't think I want to live anymore. Another whole section is, I'm a mother of a child who's in rehab. Or, but everyone just wants to say something so that they can be heard and seen. And they don't really want an answer. They don't want me to tell them any great wisdom. They're not looking for some sort of solution. They just want to not feel alone in it. And so these emails are just saying, I feel alone. If I tell you, I'll feel less alone. And I think that's the human condition, actually, is just to dare to tell the truth. And once you have, a lot of men, I remember when I did the first, I don't know how long you've known about the drawings, but like in 2018, I decided to do a little exhibition in London of these drawings. And, I hired this space and, framed some drawings and hoped my mother would come and maybe my friends and maybe a few people from Instagram. That's how it was. And I stuck them in this gallery and, said it starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And it was over 5 days, and 10,000 people came. Apparently, they reckon they count. I don't know how you count that, but the overriding emotion was a lot of men saying, generally brought by their partners, and then the girlfriends would nudge them, push them forward, and then the partners would look at me, and I'd look at them, and then they'd look at me, and tears would fill. And I'd look at them, and they didn't have to say anything. That's all they needed to say was this overwhelming sense that they'd stayed alive. They'd chosen to live. They'd chosen to ask help. They'd chosen something that they perhaps might not have done. And for me, that's the greatest privilege I've ever had, without doubt, is to connect with people. But they didn't need to tell me the whole story. They didn't expect me to solve it. They just wanted to say hello, and I dared, or whatever it is they want to say, and then that's enough, I'm no therapist.
Do you want to get to this book more specifically?
Nora, you're doing the interview.
Yeah. All right. That wasn't. So.
She's great, Nora. Look at her. She's amazing. She's very brave. I mean, we met 5 minutes ago. Literally, except for 6 years ago by email. So there you go.
I guess I would just begin with the most basic of questions, because this time we've got our characters back, but we've added some elements, including a title, Always Remember. So I'm just wondering what made you choose that title. And
it's a good question. I was struggling with the title because I didn't want to ever be too specific about it, and I had to go to Ireland. So the guy called Colm is an Irish friend of mine who, when I have all the drawings and I scan them all, he helps me sew them all together into a book. We send it off and they're printed. And his wife was very ill, so I came to stay in Ireland, and for a couple of months, just before my dog had died. So this year was Barney, who was the mole. He had died, so I was in deep grief about the loss of this little furry friend, and decided that it would be better if I went to Ireland, and I was in a hotel for 2 months, and I would walk to his house and we work on the book and do the drawings and things. And I felt, I didn't worry about the title, but I remember at about 3 a.m, I sat bolt upright thinking of my mum. And my mum was a very tender, gentle person. And I remember when I was a kid, every day before I went to school, she would squat down and do up my buttons of my jacket and look at me. And that look, which is basically, I love you and it's okay. That look, and shaking my lip out. And sometimes I say, remember, just remember, always remember this. I'm here, home's here. If things are difficult, remember that you're loved. And so I kind of went, oh, it's called Always Remember then. That's it. Always remember, because there are various pages in the book where when the storm comes, remember who you are, who am I, you're loved. It's this idea that you could maybe, on at least half the pages, you could always remember at the top and it would apply. So I felt that was a vague enough title, not getting, but strong enough to say, it was enough, I felt. I don't know what you think of the title, but do you think so? Oh, thank you. I didn't pay her to say that.
And the storm you've also added.
The storm, I think, during the pandemic, I always felt that if I made another book, it would have contained some kind of journey that separated us, which this book does. And I felt that, most of you are adults, and I think probably when you were younger, people told you well done quite a lot. If in your homework you might have got in the margin, oh, look at you, well done, and tick, tick, tick. And then you suddenly, you leave school or whatever, and well done is a rarer statement made to you. Maybe in America, everybody says well done. Maybe you're all very encouraging people, but where I come from, it's not often. It's just not often. So I thought, well, we've got through this. We're getting through this. And regard whether it's a pandemic or everyone has their storms all the time, and I guess most of us are going through something. I can't see what your storm is. You can't see mine, because most stuff goes on the inside. And I'm doing a very good job at disguising it. But, you know, I can tell you, I've just written a letter to someone who's dying today, who was going to come to an event in 10 days, but she can't. And so I'm carrying this. Likewise, you are carrying storm after storm. Most storms are on the inside. They are. And a lot of the storms I think we go through, we don't even mention to anyone. They could be deep things, insecurities, self-loathing. You know, I wish I had this. I wish I didn't look like that. Why didn't I do that? We beat ourselves up. So I think I needed to mention a storm, and I needed to say, well done. And I think, I've always felt this since I was a kid, that I would look at human beings and go, what an extraordinary thing that they're even here. Like, how did they even get here? How do they manage to get their clothes on? How did they manage to choose the right place to live? All these things, decisions were made. And I just think, you're spectacular for getting here. And so am I, because I got stuck in a flipping hotel back room. I think there's this unbelievable achievement that humans do without actually ever realizing it. So I wanted to say to grown-ups and children, like, one day you'll look back and see how hard it was and just how well he did. And if the energy of the book is that, if it's when the storm comes, remember who you are. And also when you are separated, because the boy does get separated in the storm, it's that terrible feeling I always get, which is, was it my fault?
That was the page.
Right. Was it something I said? I always think it's my fault, like everything. Even if someone else screws up, it's my fault somehow. And so I wanted to have that sort of ground zero, if you like, in the book, of the boy alone in this huge wood. And he's become separated. And his chief fear in his life was losing his friends. And the storm separated from his friends. And so then his next thing immediately is to meet this sort of weasel figure who may or may not be real. And the weasel says, what are you doing here? And the boy replies, honestly, didn't have to reply. He didn't have to do anything, but he did. Oh, I lost my friends. Oh, well, that was careless. Straight away, criticism. Are you sure they didn't lose you? Would they have left you if they loved you? Fear, 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 fear. The voice. And what I wanted to do was show his process and then making a decision, which is, I know sometimes my mind can play tricks on me and tell me I'm no good, but I need to remember who I am. So he actually takes, I don't think they can.
This is a different one.
That is a different one. So all I'm saying is the journey of this book is difficult to write because I found it deeply personal because it's my story. And I know it's when I speak to friends, we all conclude that we are terrible critics of ourselves. And we need to work out how we're going to be less that, and how to resist that, and how to choose life, and how to choose freedom, and how to get out of these things and silence the critic, ignore the critic, stand up free, which is what the boy does. And he'd always wanted to be courageous. Like he's always, there's a drawing in the book where the horse says, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to say how you feel, which for men it really is. Men, women too, I'm sure, but for men, I know we struggle. And the boy says, I don't feel very brave. And the horse says, the boy says that, and the horse says, well, that was a brave thing to say. So it's this idea of the boy wanting courage, but not knowing how to get it, and not even recognizing there's any courage in him. And I think suffering, he had no desire to suffer. None of us do. But the courage he'd always sought, he got when he suffered. So what he discovered was courage in the midst of a tempest. And he comes through it, and he ends up actually being a comfort to the horse. And I think that's what life does, is it throws things at us we choose against. but we rise up to it and stand in it and do things and be things that we never thought we would be. And that's, I think, the story of this little book. And he gets back with his friends, which is a relief.
I saw someone else said it was simply, they said it was about self-love, but it sounds like it's more complicated.
Yeah, I think that's an aspect of it. But again, you see, what I like is I hear things from people about these books that I had no intention of saying. Most stuff I don't even know I'm saying. Like, I really don't. Like, and a journalist once asked me, it was The Independent in London when the first book came out. He said, so, we understand that these 4 characters are all different parts of you. And I said, yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, didn't have a clue. Like, I think we do so much in our lives, and then we go, I see, that's what I was doing, that's what was going on. So for me, I think I do things instinctively and then look back and go, okay. What was your question?
Well, I was going to tell you that one of the questions your publisher suggested that I ask you, if I may say bravely.
They suggested questions?
They said the characters represent parts of you and all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain who is who?
I mean, some people think this, some people don't. And
we know the dog is the mole. So.
No, Barney's character, the greedy character nature, I suppose, did encourage me to make a mole who was obsessed with food. But, I think that the mole is interesting because I think the mole is the bit in me that's the addict, that when pain reaches out for anything that's going to comfort him. And there are all manner of things. And I'm sure when I say this, you're all thinking, oh yeah, crisps, or oh yeah, whatever it is that we turn to boost this whatever it is we need. And I think so. The mole is interesting because he's comical, and there's part of me that's ridiculous. I know, like getting stuff, but also very needy, and I grab onto things, and I watch the same films over. And when I feel low, I watch the same films over and over and over again.
What are those films?
Napoleon Dynamite. I'm obsessed with that film. I can't tell you how much it cheers me up. And Amadeus is another one, I think. Anyway, there are many films, but what I'm saying is that's the bit of them all. But and then there's the questioning bit of me, which is the boy that has never grown up, which just goes, why and what, really, and why? What's it's always kind of someone asks me this question. I don't understand why the world is the way it is. What are we doing to each other? How did this come about? And their answers are never complete. So the questions will always remain. And to be content to live in questions is very important. And so that's the boy. Then the fox is the bit of me. I went through, when I was a boy, I was at a school which is was tough sometimes, a boarding school when I was 7. And so the bit of me, the hurt bit, is the bit I'm the fox who looks at people and wants to love them but doesn't really trust them yet. So I circumnavigate things like the fox. The fox in the film, I made sure that he walked round and round and round, didn't ever come too close or even was aggressive. And there was the horse, I think, is the deepest part of us. For me, the soul, but also is extremely vulnerable. That's a twist. Very, very fragile, but deeply beautiful. And I think the depths of us is just so profoundly beautiful. So that's the horse. Yeah, so the different bits, if that makes sense.
Do you want to talk a bit about the film and how that came about? And
the film was again, I don't know whether you have times in your life where you just suddenly go, how did I get here? What are we doing? And so when we made the first book, I remember during lockdown, I ended up by accident staying with one of my best friends because I was there for the weekend. And our prime minister said, "Right, no one can move. You can't go anywhere." So I was stuck for 2 months, and in that time, we got a lot of film offers from 80 different film studios. And my question was, "What are you going to do with the film? Like, what are you going to do? Your money is not important. What I want to know is what you're going to say." And none of them would really be that honest. So we just said no to everyone. And I've lived as an artist, and it's not easy. In my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I was living in an industrial unit. painting in one end and sleeping in the other. Like, life has not been easy. So, turning down large figures to film studios was a very awkward feeling in me. But I felt, we had to honor, or I had to honor the journey I'd been on with many people and trying to tell these truths, and we didn't want to mess it up. So we ended up deciding to make it ourselves. So we did, and we scrunched around, raised the money, and then we had to learn how to, talk to actors on Zoom because it was lockdown. I had to speak to a composer, had to write a script, and out of my depth on every single level, I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And we're spending a lot of money with me who doesn't know what he's doing. And so I guess for me, long answer was, I found myself again in a strange situation. And I remember one day thinking about the voices. I used to lie in bed and I used to see the film on my screen way before the film was being made. And it was always the boy alone on this huge landscape. And I could sort of feel the music, and I could hear his voice. He was Scottish, and I could hear the horse, who was Irish. And when it came to casting the horse, I remember thinking, I would really love Gabriel Byrne to do this, right? Because I like his voice. And, I thought, well, we couldn't reach him. Who are we to reach him anyway? Failed. So I just decided to handwrite him a letter. So in my ink, I handwrote this letter in ink, and it was splodges on it and stuff. And then I left it overnight because I couldn't fold it because it was too wet. And we got his address, I think his agent's address. I think he was in Maine, was it? I don't know. Anyway, sent it. And then forgot about it, because that's what you do. And then 2 weeks later, I was pushing my bicycle with Barney in the basket, and my phone rings, and it was a long number. So I picked it up and said, hello. And this voice went, is that Charlie? And I said, yeah, it's Charlie. He says, it's Gabriel. And oh, hi, Gabriel. How are you? He said, I'm grand. Listen, I got your letter. I said, okay. And he said, oh, so thanks. Do you know the book? He said, I have the book. I said, brilliant. And then I said, I think I was like kind of screaming into the air and then trying to relax and breathe. I said, so we're making a little film, and, just wondered if you fancied, being the horse. And there's a pause. He goes, Charlie, I am the horse. And I lay on the grass and went, oh my God, okay, thank you. So it was a journey of people who didn't want to be involved were not, and anyone who wanted to be were. I think that's how it went. They either felt we were doing something important or not. And so I think we gathered together a team of people whose hearts were really in it. And that journey was difficult, but in the end, I think we scraped through. Yeah. Have you seen the film? No, you have. Oh. And how did you feel about the film? Oh, good. Oh, no, I'm not. No. I just suddenly thought maybe you've never seen it, and I'm talking into an abyss. Great. Well, it felt we were scraping through in the end, yeah. Thank you.
Speaking of voices, I saw someone asking whether or not, mentioning that the audiobook of the previous book was something that was very special to her, that she listened to it like every night before bed because your voice was so calming and the story was so calming. But I don't see there's an audiobook for this one yet, and I was just wondering if there will be one. Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, I mean, making the first one I did in a barn on my own. And I had to build this pyramid of cushions because of the pandemic. I couldn't go in to record it, so I was sent the equipment, and I can barely work an iPhone, let alone record an audiobook. So I had all this equipment, and so I got all these cushions, and I bought more cushions, and just basically it was a wigwam of cushions and foam, and I did 240 files, and every time I tried to do a bit, I'd hear an airplane go over or something, it's just like, oh, come on. And as soon as you stop, it's silent. Do you know what I mean? But so it was a long journey making the first book and the audiobook, and I'm glad we did. But this one I think will be easier because I'll just be in a recording booth,
That's so good. That's something to look forward
I hope
to.
so.
Yeah.
Have you heard the audiobook? Yes. What do you think of it?
Yeah.
You don't have to be nice. Anyway.
I understand that in this book you use different colors and techniques.
Yes.
I want to talk a little. We don't have the art capability at the moment, but if you could talk about the art in words, if you don't mind, about how it was different this time.
I think, a lot of this book the second book was quite meditative. I think I went deep into it. I think I like the journey of color. I felt that I wanted people to get lost in landscape a bit more, to feel it. And again, you're asking me an objective question about something that's very subjective. So I struggle to come up with clear answers. But what I would say is I found myself getting quite lost in the images and the color, and I like the feeling of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Was it a different process than the other one, or was it? Techniques or anything?
Yeah, I think I mixed them up a bit. I think. I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose always want people, to feel something. Like I don't want them to go, oh, that's a nice picture. I want them to feel it. Mm-hmm. Like I don't care much about it. It's just how someone feels at the end of it. Like while making the film, I remember saying, what are we doing with this film? We're not just trying to make a nice film. We want people to feel differently when they come to the end. I want them to feel less alone, more encouraged, more hopeful, less isolated, more human, more braver about the truth of themselves. Those things. So I feel that, the answer to the question about color is more to do with an instinct for what I wanted people to feel, and I in terms of the detail of things, it doesn't really interest me, if I'm honest. It's just more, how do you feel? Does that make sense?
Were there is a lot left on the cutting room floor that you like?
Yeah, I think in my house there's probably 500,000 drawings. No, that's not exaggeration. I mean, in the house you can't get in. It's a 5-bedroom house, and I think there's only one fairly functional bedroom, and the rest is boxes and boxes of drawings and half-finished drawings and messy things. And
lock the door. Someone's going to want to buy those.
My car was. I did when I was making the book. I did lose a lot of drawings from my passenger seat when I went to buy some milk.
Yeah.
And I spent the next few months lying in bed going, what was it? And what did I say? And so, yeah, don't leave things in cars. I've learned my lesson.
Yes, I heard about that, and I was wondering. I mean, it might have been like a growth experience, I suppose, one that you did not want. But.
I think everything is, and clearly the person who took them wasn't very happy. You have to feel sorry for them, or I don't know where their life was, but carrying a grudge doesn't get you anywhere. And I think if the lesson was to let things go and just carry on. Maybe the drawings weren't right. Maybe there was, who knows? But it was only going to toxify my system if I spent.
Let's not talk about it anymore then.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't feel that much anymore about it.
I had picked. You already mentioned one of my favorites, which was we don't have a projector.
Was it my fault?
Yeah, maybe that's because I feel that way all the time. But I picked a couple of others. But did you want to pick any?
No, you go.
Oh, I get to pick.
Yeah, Nora, it's your thing.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, that one. Go back to that one.
This one. You want this one? Okay.
Yeah, we often hear.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to read it? You have a better voice than I do.
No, you have a lovely voice.
All right. We often hear of the hatred while rivers of love and courage pass by unnoticed. So I'm going to...
Well, I did that because I think on the news all we hear about is the rage and the destruction and the hatred and the way we're so divided everywhere across the world and people killing each other and it dominates our thinking. And we tend to think that this is all there is, and that's all we've got left. The human race has just come to this place of absolute division. And actually, if you really think about it, it's so far from the truth. There's more love and tenderness, in this room, in all these places where you go. And I think it goes by unnoticed. And I know so many people in my life who are going through difficult things, who are helping each other. I've got a friend who's an intensive care nurse, all this kindness and courage and love. And yet all we hear about, all the media is interested in telling us is destruction. And I just wanted to say, don't get lost. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it eat you up. And don't let it ever, don't give it the chance to convince you that this is all there is. Because it really isn't. Like, it couldn't be further from the truth. But we don't hear about it. So I think it's like a river that just goes by and we're looking the other way. We just don't notice it. That's why I did that drawing. And I felt very strongly I felt quite angry about it when I drew the drawing. Or not angry, but really concerned.
Have you heard from others about that, or any of the other ones that? Really
I hear from people. Not so much about specific drawings, but I hear a lot from people who are going through things, or divorces, or various things where they can't see the good anymore in things. But there's always good to be found somewhere if you look hard enough. Yeah. Anyway.
On a lighter note, one of the I really like the very opening when you say, hello, when I was little, I thought books were like dried spaghetti lying on a shelf silently waiting for someone to open and bring them to life.
Yeah,
tell us
I
about
did.
that.
Well,
I used to think all kinds of things, but that's a really good one.
Well, look at all these books. And they're just made of pressed trees with some ink stuck in them. And they're no use to anyone until you open them. They're only alive when you choose to make them come alive. That's why books are brilliant, but there's a partnership. It's not a passive thing. You have to open them and use the water of your eyes to make the spaghetti, and to take the analogy a bit further. But I feel that when I was a kid, I was staring and thinking, all that thinking, all that emotion, it's just like we had this larder where my mum used to put all this dried spaghetti. And I would stare at it thinking, that's just waiting for us to, at some point, boil it, and then but it's waiting. And I think I used to see books in the same way, and then suddenly here you are, what did I say?
Here you are
doing just that. Yeah, bring it to life.
Yeah.
So I think that's the great thing about books. It thrills me when I hear from schools that kids have decided to make their own books. And I've been sent like mountains of new books written by 8-year-olds, like with different characters, and they're way funnier and better than mine. I'm thrilled they're doing them. I hope one day they publish them. I hope one day they're all, But for me, that's the great joy. Is I've always hoped that, it would inspire people to dare to do the things themselves. And I think sometimes, when I used to go into bookshops, I would see these really perfectly beautiful things. And of course, when you look at them, you just go, there's no chance I could make one of those. But what you don't see is the mess that went into them. What you don't see is the years of failure, years of rejection, the dead ends that people went down and reversing back up. You don't see. And so everybody in this room is perfectly capable of making a book if you just dared to believe it. It's just difficult. And I think that has inspired me so much, is to see these kids write. And I hear when signings, the last few months I've been signing books, and I'm brought books that people have made, and they said, you inspire me to do this, and that makes me cry, because I think, wow, love that. And why am I saying this?
That was the first line of your book. I was going to ask about something about trees. I understand that you've planted a lot of trees around where I'm not exactly sure where you live, but I did see that you planted, I don't know, it was like thousands of trees or something.
Yeah,
tell us about that. If you don't mind.
It's not that interesting. I mean, I bought some land. I'd always dreamt that if I ever made any money, I would buy land and plant trees. Because I always think trees are the best things you could give the planet. So I decided to, and then I had this land, and I thought, right, well, I better plant trees then. So I read a lot about what trees are right, and how to plant them, how to care for them, and when to plant them, and so that's what I'm doing. And the last 8 months has been the driest, hottest bit of our weather system in in memory, on record. So it was the worst possible time to plant trees because I was basically up all night watering them for months and months and months. So yeah, I love trees. They're very important.
All right, I think I have run dry on questions myself, but I think there are some people out here who have questions. So,
Yeah, feel free. One at a time. It's like being at school. I'm the teacher. Okay, you had your hand up first. Yes, you can just ask it. Oh, you have a mic. Oh, look at that. No, there's a mic there. Yeah, go for it.
I'm not shy. Thank you for writing these books. I'm a spiritual director, and I've given out lots of them, and it's given language to people. It's been really helpful. About 10 years ago on Instagram, you drew this lovely doodle, and it said, "Draw near to God, and He'll draw near to you."
It was drawing.
It was a drawing. Yeah.
It was sort of using the word draw. It was,
Yeah.
I think, a boy was drawing and God was drawing.
Yeah.
He drawn it. Yeah.
And
It's a play on the word draw.
it's such a joyful image and way of thinking about God.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered if you had ever thought about expanding on that theme as like a prayer book or something like that. Except I've shown that to people, and they don't get it. And they said, "Who is Todd?" Because they couldn't read your handwriting.
Oh dear. I do get that a lot about my handwriting. I get angry people going, "Can you not just print it? Like, why are you all curly? What's this curly handwriting thing?" I got it's every other day. So maybe I should do one with print. But I don't think so. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I get lots of quite angry emails as well, by the way. Can't believe you didn't, and what are you doing with this? And, so, I think for me, the journey of these four is more about being honest and human and connection. And my journey into discovering that it was okay to tell the truth of who you are. And I think you can call that a divine journey, you can call it a human journey, but I think it's all intertwined. But I feel that there's so much fear in us about being discovered. I think there was a drawing I did in the first book, where the boy said, "So you know all about me?" And the boy says, "Yeah. And you still love me." And the horse says, "We love you all the more." And I think for me, the discovery of that was so incredible, that my humanness, my humanity, and we spend so much energy dressing ourselves up. We spend so much of our lives trying to look like we're something, and layer upon layer upon layer of defenses and da-da-da. And actually all that's required of us is just with a few of close people who say, "Actually, this is really me." And then, okay, well, that's great. And then they go, "Me too, I'm this." I think there's a writer who said that friendship is just when two people go, "This is how I feel," and the other one goes, "Oh, yeah, me too." It's that whole connection of raw honesty that I've wanted to sort of encourage in people, and so they feel less alone, because I think there's nothing worse than shame, that it convinces you not to speak and tells you that if you do, you'll lose connection. And actually the ironic twist in that narrative is the deepest connection you get is when you actually ignore the shame and tell the truth. And then you have connection. When all the time your shame was telling you, if you want to be loved, don't tell it, if you want to be loved. And so for me, that's the journey in this, more than anything. Particularly, anyway, you're here.
Hi. So I am studying at university to be a teacher.
Okay.
So I love children. And I love how your books are meant for every age, and I could hand it to. And you wrote that in your first book. It's how you opened, and I think that's so amazing. And you have a boy in your book. And I was wondering, it seems children are important to you. I was wondering if you could talk more about that, how they're important to the world and to your work.
Children? Well, hugely. I don't have children myself, but I've looked after so many friends' children. And I'm godfather to many. So I think I find them so honest and open and funny. And I like being around them because they say things that when you grow up you don't dare say. And so I enjoy that very much. But when I was a boy, I liked connection with nature. I was lucky enough to be brought up on a farm in the north of England, and I spent so much time in the hills with sheep and everything. And I suppose I made this book about that state of wonder that I used to be in, and the trust I had with nature, that I could trust it. And I think children have this trust that is often, broken. But I think I love that pure trust that the boy has for his friends, and that moves me very deeply because life hasn't, taken its toll yet. So there's a purity in that I love, and an honesty. Yeah, they're incredible children. Lucky you. Well done you for doing what you do. It's amazing. I mean, I think teaching and nursing are the two great things. I think health and education are the great gifts to the world. So well done.
This question comes from the 7.5-year-old who is now hiding
Come on.
and cowering. She
What's
said,
her name?
Layla.
Hey, Layla. I'd be hiding if I were you. I hide in the bathroom before I do interviews.
But she
Just to tell you, when I was at the Oscars, I hid in the bathroom, and then wrote a note saying, "I'm at the Oscars and I'm hiding in the loo." Do you remember that? You remember that? There you go. So Layla, I would, yeah. Oh, well done, you're coming out.
Yeah.
Good for you. That was very
So
brave.
she wrote this question because she was listening to you talk about the mole, who is her favorite character, being inspired by your dog, Bernie.
Yeah.
And we just lost a dog too, so we feel that. But
Layla.
when you said the mole was inspired by your dog,
Yes.
was it the experiences or the personality or both?
Such a good. Who asked that?
That's this one.
Layla. That's a brilliant question. I think it was probably both. But the experiences of Barney were so beautiful because he made me laugh all the time. And his love was so pure. And so it's this extraordinary combination of him always demanding snacks, always being ridiculous, and yet, the coziest, warmest, friendliest experience you can imagine. And I miss that. There's a hole in my heart that's so big at the moment. So if that's how you feel, I get it. So it was both personality and experience. Does that answer your question? Is that all right?
Thank you.
No, good question. Any other questions? Oh, look at you. How you doing?
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
You too.
So when I first actually watched the movie before I read the book, the first book. And the one thing that always stood out to me was when you say kindness exists quietly beyond all things. And I guess immediately I took to it and kind of told people it and wanted to live by it. But I thought when I first enjoyed it, it was easy because things were going well.
Right.
And, I think then there was times where people really weren't kind to me.
Yep.
And it was a test. Like, did I really believe it? Does kindness exist beyond all things? Because when people stink,
Sure. Yeah.
But I think maybe that was the point of you saying that it exists beyond all things, because you have to be kind, and like, why give that up just because others have? But I kind of wanted to ask you more personally, like, your relationship with kindness.
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always thought, when I left school, they used to send me these reports about school leavers, right? And they would often say things like, John Baxter is now a lawyer and he's doing really well. He's got a house and 18 children, and he's got another house in the country and a big car, and gosh, isn't he amazing? And all I really wanted to know was, what's he like? Achievements are fine, but what are you really like now? Are you kind to the people that perhaps can't give you anything? Do you listen? All those things that I was more interested in. I think those are the big achievements, but they're not easy. And I think when I did the kindness, I think the first drawing was a bit more like to do with the idea of you can be talented and everything, but kindness, nothing beats kindness. It exists way beyond all of these achievements. And I don't think it exists just in an ether on its own. I think it exists within us, and it sits there. But I think it's the greatest thing. When I said beyond all things, it was almost like it's better than everything. But I also think, there's another. The early drawing was the boy. The mole says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And the boy says, "Kind." The question was, "What do you want to be?" Because the boy said, "Well, clearly I'm not quite there yet." And I'm not there yet. I still get grumpy and frustrated, and I still get annoyed at the traffic lights. I still, I don't. It was more an aspiration. This is what I think is the ultimate. Kindness is, and when I meet people who are kind, I just get so moved by them. And I think some people, I know some of the kindest people I know sometimes have off days. And so I think it's a wonderful aspiration, and I think it's a beautiful thing that does exist beyond all things, but I also think we're human. And I think we're all on a journey. But I think if your desire is to be kind, you are and you will be, and you become more so. And I think to forgive the ones who aren't will free you from them. That's the strange dynamic of forgiving, is that it sets you free from the unkindness you've been given. But that, again, is a tough journey. Does that answer your question? Not really.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Definitely.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Well, no, it's a really good question. You guys are amazing. Your questions are great. Any other questions? Oh, hello. You're very brave. Yeah, that's it. You got it.
I really like the character the mole, so I was just wondering, since he likes cake so much, do you like cake?
Yeah. What's your name?
Ainsley.
Ainsley. That's a good name. Ainsley. A good lemon drizzle for me is hard to eat. What's your favorite cake?
Key lime pie.
Which one?
Key lime pie.
I don't even know that. What is it? Lime pie. Key lime pie. Key lime pie. This is the first time in my life I've heard of this cake. Tell me why you like this.
It's very tasty.
You love it. Key lime pie. Okay, I've got to look out for that. Does anyone think key lime pie has a one above it beyond? Well, you all love key lime pie.
Well, we know what you're having for dessert.
You're joking. What does? Passion fruit sponge. It's quite niche. It's good. Yeah. Oh, look, there you are. Kathy, someone I've known for years. So key lime, no, passion fruit. Anyone else? Coconut, really? Yeah, I like chocolate. Anyone else? Key lime. I'm struggling with this. Huh? Yeah, this is extraordinary because, like in England, I do this, and everyone's fighting over chocolate and Victoria sponge, which is so, I suppose, and carrot. Someone said carrot cake. No, that's so boring. It's just eat some carrots. Stop pretending it's a cake. I mean, the mole would really, really run a mile from carrot cake. So, and let's add an inch thick icing on top of it, and maybe just eat the icing. Anyway, that was a beautiful question. Thank you. I mean, it's a very important question. I think cake to me does represent comfort, and I'm comfort obsessed. I've struggled on and off with anxiety and depression all my life, And I get very sad sometimes. And, I think cake's played a huge role, and my favorite films played a huge role in making me feel less so. Hello, in your pink coat.
That was my daughter, Ainsley. So I'm proud of her for being
I
brave
bet you
enough
are.
to come and ask a question. So I'm so happy to see you in real life.
Thank you.
This is wonderful.
Is it a disappointment?
No, not at all.
Are you sure?
No, it's lovely.
Thank
It's just
you.
really a very endearing man.
Oh, thank you.
So when I look at your art,
Yes.
what I so appreciate is there is a lot of beside and with and seeing each other.
Yeah.
But I think really what touches me is the touch and the affection
Mm-hmm.
and the embracing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we all want to be seen, and sometimes people become uncomfortable with affection and touch. But
Yep.
what I have found is, I'm very Southern, if you know much about the South and the United States, but we touch people all the time, and it's
Right.
natural to do. The ladies I've been sitting next to, I've probably touched you a bunch of times, haven't I?
And you don't know them?
No, I just met them today.
Wow, look at you.
Yes, yes, yes. We've become, well, that's what the instruction was, to, talk to the people, well, it's gone now, but to talk to the people
It said
around
that?
you. Genevieve and Zaina, yes.
Hi,
yes.
Genevieve and
Georgetown and Delaware. She came all the way. And her
Nice.
favorite cake is carrot, by the way. I know she's...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I tell you, oh, no. So sorry.
But,
It's brilliant. Carrot cake's brilliant.
I just wanted to hear what you had to say
Yeah.
about affection and what that means to you.
I think affection is one of the most beautiful things that exists. And I think it can comfort you. It can save your life. I know in a few cases where a small act of kindness has saved people's lives. So I think it happens. You see it between animals, and it happens between us. And I think it's so integral to existence. And without it, I think we are starved. And it doesn't have to be touch. It can be a text. It can be a letter. It can be a smile in the street. It can be tiny things that can change a whole day. And so I think without it, we're sort of barren. And I think nature is just so full of affection in so many ways. Like where I planted all these trees, I watch animals doing all kinds of things with each other, and butterflies dancing together, and pigeons rubbing their heads against each other, and all this stuff is going on all the time. And it's this connection that beings crave, and it manifests itself often in just simple affection. I mean, one of my favorite stories is a girl who was when she was an adult, she was a parents' evening of her own kids, and she was talking to an art teacher who had taught her, and she said, "Do you remember me?" And he said, he was retiring that year. He said, "No, I don't think I do." And she said, "I'm Jenny." And he went, "Oh yeah, actually." And she said 15 years ago, "Yeah, I do. I do remember you." She said, "But there's something you don't know that I've been wanting to tell you ever since." And he said, "Sure, tell me." She said, "I went to school on a Friday at lunchtime with the full intention of not existing by Friday night. And my purpose of going to school that day was to say goodbye to everyone, teachers, pupils, my friends, everyone. And you were my last lesson. And I was doing a drawing, and you were coming past everyone, and you looked at mine, and then you said, 'Oh, look at that. That's wonderful. You're brilliant, Don't give up.' And she said, that was enough for me to stay alive. So thank you for saving my life. And you won't remember it, will you?" He said, "I don't remember it, but I'm so glad." And so for me, why I put that page in the book, which is often the tiniest act of kindness can save a life, is I think it's true. I think affection, whether it's word or physical, is so crucial to our existence and to our, I'm starved. I love it. you know, and that's why I think I just draw it over and over and over again, whether it's the boy carrying the mole or the horse's head on the boy's nose on the horse's back of his head or whatever it is. I find it just an important idea and reality for us. If that answers your question.
It does. It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. I think it's a good question.
I see some tears here.
Hello.
So I actually have a question about your process as an artist, and by that I mean more your journey from. It sounds like you've been an artist for a very long time.
Yeah.
And how did this happen from all your years prior to this? Is it the natural outpouring of what you have always kind of been interested in or doing, or was it something you started messing around with and?
I think that's such a... You mean this book, the books?
The books, yeah.
I never dreamt I could make a book. Other people did books that I did drawings in, but I never felt that it was my thing. And I really struggle to make plans. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow unless Penguin tell me I'm going to Boston. But generally speaking, I don't even know what I'm going to eat or where. So I'm saying that because I never planned on this. I think for me, I think it's are you an artist?
Yeah.
Well, you're very brave. I think it's a really brave thing to do, to dare to put yourself out there, you know, and to make images or whatever it is you do. I mean, making cake is brave. I think and making anything is a vulnerable act. You cook for people and you're going, is it okay? I mean, I don't because I don't risk their lives. But I mean, what I'm saying is, so as an artist, I think everybody is different. I know other painters. I know some really gifted sculptors. I know all kinds of people. And I'm so different to them. So there's no rule. And that's the great thing about it. There are no rules. But all I would say is really listen to yourself and don't let others tell you what to do. Just enjoy the truth of what's inside you and put it out there and keep listening. And I think I've just tried to listen and listen and listen. And you know, I think I have ADHD and stuff, so I get quite bored quite quickly. So I think I move on from things, and I'm always looking for something, a different angle, a different way of saying something. And I think for me, the journey of connection and the visceral nature of us and the need for us to communicate took over from just making image. I wanted to say, and I think a lot of it was subconscious. Mm-hmm. I think you probably look back and go, oh, I was doing X, Y, Z. And my advice to you is just to love what you do, and be brave. And congratulations that you're even doing it. I know many, many people, friends who say, I quit because it was too hard, it was too lonely, it was too difficult, I was too scared. I wish I'd still played the piano, but I quit. Or you know, I do stuff sometimes with the kids, and I ask them, can you draw? And like, how many of you can draw? And they all stick their hands up, the whole lot, straight away. And then you ask anyone above the age of 8, and only like 10% will, and the older they get until eventually, you know, most people say, no, I'm not. And the reason why is because we compare ourselves, or we're critical of ourselves, or someone said something when we were young. So you've got through all of that. And I'm sure you've had negativity thrown at you in various ways. But
self as much as anything.
Yourself. Well, we are the mountain, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, well done. Yeah. It doesn't really... Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, we're looking at time. What's your name?
I'm Wendell. We're wrapping up now.
We're wrapping up now. That wasn't a question, was it? Can you just say, are we wrapping up now?
Are we wrapping up now?
Yeah. But I think, aren't we going to... Do you want me to sign some books or something? So where are we doing that?
All right. Before you get in the line, please fold up your chairs and put them against the
Can I just say
bookshelf.
one thing before you will move? One thing. And it's 30 seconds. Is whenever I come to things, I never think people are going to turn up. So I'm going to say thank you for coming. It's really lovely you came. And thank you to Nora.